We have all seen the presentations, the countdown clocks, the cheering crowds, the blinding flash of rocket engines igniting in the Texas desert. We are being promised that humanity is finally packing its bags for a multi-planetary future. To make that leap, we are building machines like this, the SpaceX Starship. It is an engineering marvel, designed with a highly marketed, specific objective in mind: flying human beings to Mars and bringing them safely home. The Tsiolkovsky rocket equation dictates a brutal reality for any deep space journey. To move a payload, you need fuel, but fuel has mass. Lifting that mass requires even more fuel, creating an exponential spiral where the weight of the propellant eventually dwarfs the spacecraft it was meant to carry. Look at how this equation scales for a return trip. For every single kilogram of propellant you want to land on the Martian surface to fuel your ride home, you must launch approximately 226 kilograms from Earth. You would need the equivalent of more than 2 fully loaded Saturn V rockets just to deliver enough return fuel for a single Starship. Because carrying that return fuel from Earth is a mathematical dead end, every serious mission architecture relies on in situ resource utilization, or ISRU. The plan is to land a chemical plant on Mars, mine subsurface ice, pull carbon dioxide from the thin atmosphere, and manufacture tens of thousands of tons of cryogenic methane and liquid oxygen. We have never built an autonomous chemical plant on another planet. We have no proven way to store cryogenic fuels for years in wild temperature swings without them boiling off. The factory to make your ticket home does not exist. Anyone boarding a Mars-bound rocket today is committing to permanent exile. Even if you accept a one-way ticket, your body does not know it has been relocated. It only knows that the mechanical load it evolved to carry is suddenly gone. In the 38% gravity of Mars, the cells that build new bone slow down, while the cells that dissolve old bone keep working right on schedule. We know what this does to a human skeleton from long-duration orbital missions. After a year in space, astronauts like Scott Kelly returned to Earth with bone microarchitecture that had been permanently altered. A Mars transit and surface stay would strip away 20 to 30% of an astronaut's bone density in their hips and spine, leaving them with the skeleton of an elderly person. The fluids inside your body shift too. Without Earth's gravity pulling blood downward, cerebrospinal fluid pools in the head. The increased pressure physically flattens the back of the eyeballs and distorts the optic nerve, a condition called spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, causing permanent visual impairment. Your body is actively optimizing itself for an alien environment. Over months and years, your skeleton thins, your eyes change shape, and your cardiovascular system weakens. You are being permanently trapped inside an anatomy that would be crushed by Earth's gravity. Deep space is filled with galactic cosmic rays, the high-energy remnants of distant supernovae. Adding thicker metal walls to a habitat does not stop them, it shatters them. When a cosmic ray nucleus hits an aluminum hull, it creates a secondary particle cascade, firing a shotgun blast of subatomic debris directly into human tissue. This continuous, invisible bombardment physically alters the architecture of the brain. Animal studies simulating deep space radiation show severe degradation in the dendritic connections between neurons. Memory becomes impaired, reasoning slows down. The ability to manage fear and anxiety steadily deteriorates. Now place that compromised, anxious brain inside a sealed habitat, 200 million kilometers from home. Because of the absolute speed limit of light, a simple call for help takes 20 minutes to reach Earth. The reply takes another 20 minutes to come back. When a crisis hits, or when a message arrives announcing that a loved one back home has died, the crew is entirely alone. Their psychological tether to the rest of humanity is severed, leaving them to grieve and survive in absolute, unbridgeable silence. Survival must happen on a surface that actively rejects biology. Mars has less than 1% of Earth's atmospheric pressure. If a suit seal fails, the boiling point of water drops below human body temperature. The moisture on your eyes, your tongue, and inside your airways vaporizes almost instantly. The soil itself is laced with perchlorates, highly reactive, toxic chlorine compounds. This microscopic dust is so fine it infiltrates airlock seals and settles onto spacesuits. Colonists will inevitably track it inside, breathing it in year after year as it slowly poisons their thyroid glands and scars their lungs. To survive this toxicity, colonists must rely on perfectly sealed, closed-loop life support systems. In the early 1990s, the Biosphere 2 facility attempted to sustain 8 people in an enclosed environment for 2 years. Within months, oxygen levels plummeted, carbon dioxide spiked, and crops failed, despite having full gravity, abundant sunlight, and a team of engineers standing right outside. On Mars, there is no one standing outside. Every single component, from the water recyclers to the oxygen scrubbers, must operate flawlessly for decades without replacement parts. On an infinite timeline, a single unfixable mechanical failure turns a habitat into a permanent tomb. If a colony somehow manages to sustain itself, a new moral threshold is crossed, the moment the first child is born. That child will develop inside a sealed box, their bones and cardiovascular system forming strictly under that 38% gravitational load. They are not volunteers. They will grow up physically incapable of ever surviving the gravitational crush of their ancestral home. They will live their entire lives under the absolute jurisdiction of the corporation that controls their air and water, with no ability to leave. But before we establish that corporate foothold, we have an obligation to the planet itself. In 2024, the Perseverance rover, drilling into an ancient river valley in Jezero Crater, found something that stopped scientists in their tracks. Inside a rock nicknamed Chayava Falls, instruments detected organic carbon compounds surrounded by distinctive leopard spots, chemical rings of iron and sulfur. On Earth, these specific mineral patterns are produced almost exclusively by living microbes. It is the clearest biosignature of ancient life ever detected on another world. Recent studies suggest life might still exist there today, surviving in a radiolytic habitable zone just meters beneath the icy surface. Humans, however, are walking ecosystems, shedding trillions of resilient bacteria. We cannot be baked in ovens and sterilized like robotic landers. The moment a human boot presses into the Martian dirt, Earth life arrives with it. By rushing to plant flags, we unleash a biological invasion that could overwhelm fragile native organisms, permanently erasing the greatest scientific discovery in history before we even confirm it is there. Picture the first human to stand on that rust-colored dirt. They look up into a pale, butterscotch sky, and there, barely distinguishable from the stars, is a faint point of blue light. In 1990, astronomer Carl Sagan looked at a similar image captured by Voyager 1 and called it the pale blue dot. He noted that every human being who ever lived, every creator and destroyer, every king and peasant, lived out their lives on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. For the Martian colonist, that dot contains every forest, every ocean, every memory, and every person they have ever loved, all of it compressed into a single, unreachable pixel. Reaching for Mars requires a trade that most of us are only beginning to calculate. We are choosing to build a civilization on the bones of its explorers, knowing that their children can never return, and their arrivals may erase the only other life we have ever found. Before the first launch window opens, we have to decide if that distance is worth the price of never coming home.